What? All I know is life is raggedy. Raggedy.
Hello. Oh my god, I sound very loud. Good. I'm recording in the evening, so I was supposed to say good evening, everyone, but hello everyone. Let me take this seriously. Hello everyone and welcome to the Reforming Pessimist podcast. I am Abanga and it's good to be here. It's really, really good to be here and to talk to you guys and do these solo episodes. Do you know that I'm really anxious about doing these solo episodes because I'm like, oh my god, will I be able to kind of get through what I'm thinking, and will I be able to share what I think in my head over and over again with you guys, and would it translate? Would it make sense, or will I sound like a crazy person? Which sometimes I think I do, but you know what? I think that this life will not be beautiful if you are not crazy in some way, a little crazy in other ways as well. So I am learning to be this thing that I've convinced myself that it's not so great to be, and finding love for it. You know what I mean? Loving it. Even though I've been made to believe there's so much that's wrong with me. And that's why I'm reforming the pessimism, where I shit on myself and tell myself that I'm not good enough. And I focus on the things that I feel like is bomb about me, and love the things that I think are not so about me. And that's why life is raggedy. Anyway, so welcome to my podcast. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're, all in good places, and I really hope that you guys are thriving and living happy life and beautiful lives. And if that's not the case and life is hitting you hard right now, welcome to this podcast. I hope to be able to share enough about my journey and me really trying to push myself out of this pessimism, and hopefully reach you, and hopefully be able to extend my virtual hugs to you guys, to be able to find things within you that will let you keep going and want to be here and want to just live this life and not give up. I hope that me sharing my journey and my story and my vulnerability, I am hoping to be able to validate a lot of you out there who are like me. May not be the same exact picture, but who are just like me. And you really struggle with this life. You really, really struggle with it. You wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't get why I'm here. I don't know why I'm here. It just doesn't make sense, and it just hurts all the time. It hurts all the time, and I don't understand why. It just hurt all the time, and it's just not happy. And for the ones who are in between, and for the ones who are just trying to find some solace and some validation, or even do not understand why they are where they are, I'm hoping that my little bit of life experience and my living with my mental illness will be able to impact you and give you some comfort. I think that's what I want to do, is to comfort you and validate you and make you feel like it's okay. It's really okay. This is not unique. It's not new. It's not just you. There is some girl that you do not know who is sitting in her bedroom telling me that it's okay. I hope that reaches you, and I'm just grateful that you tuned in to listen. Oh my god. And I think I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of things that I process in my head that sometimes I want to share with the world, because I just want to be like, am I eccentric, or is this actually quite normal? And I truly believe that it's normal. I think that a lot of us are like this, but we live in a world and society where we're not really allowed to truly be our authentic self, who we really truly are. And I think that in hiding from those things about you because we've either been hurt, or we've been critiqued, or we've been brought down, we've been basically been dressed down to believe that there is something completely wrong with us. We've not had a chance to be able to enjoy life and just live for the sake of living without the fear or the anxiety or the thought of just not being able to fit in or not being able to belong or just being the weird awkward one, of just being the overwhelmed one who has too much problems, or just being the toxic person around people, just being something that you think that it just makes you not worthy, or you don't feel like you're just worthless and you do not want to be here. So I want to be able to also hopefully explore all of these things. But again, I just hope that all of you who are in these places, that that like there's a lot of us out there. We feel it, we experience it, and we just talk about it, but we don't talk about it in a very deep, personalized way. Most of us will probably go to our therapist and have those kind of conversation, because it's sometimes a point of embarrassment, honestly, and of a point of feeling like, wow, like I don't belong, like I'm not right. Like everybody's out here being right, being perfect, doing it well, doing it good. Why can't I be like that? Like why can't I just have it together and be able to live life the way people are living? And why am I doing this? What am I doing so wrongly that I can do it happily? So like you dig deep and you find out all of these things that are about you that kind of holds you back, because you're just in so much pain. Like you're just in so much pain. And that is what it is. Like for me, I think depression is pain. And when you have another additional dose of pain that comes over your life, because you're carrying so much of it already. So when an additional little bit tops it off, and it's like, it's over. It's over. And guys, like my depression, it works in a way where like I imagine it as when you see one of those like Muhammad Ali boxing fight. And you know what's funny about it is I don't actually like watching fighting sport, but I although I really do, I love action movies, actually, like John Wick being one of my favorites, and also watching a lot of like Marvel Cinematic Comics and even anime. Oh my god, anime have some of the best fights. Oh my god, some of the best fighting scenes. The characters are just, I love anime. One day I'll talk about it, but I don't want to take me too far. So my depression works as a boxing ring, right? And I'm just going to give you the image of it where there is Lydia me. I feel like when I switch into depression, I'm like, there's Lydia me who's just like, I'm in a fighting ring. What's about to happen? Like, what's going on? And in the background, there's somebody singing, and coming, depressing a banger. And I'm in a boxing ring like, hold on, I'm about to fight. Is something about to happen? Yeah. So I'm ready, like, I need to get my fighting stance ready, but I'm not ready because I'm so, flabbergasted and confused and like, why am I here? Why am I here? So I don't even know what to do now. I feel like I'm in shock. I'm in like, and then like, the boxer me gets into the ring, and it's like it's about to be a fight, and I get the first punch and I'm like, you're like, whatever I'm feeling that's causing me to shit on myself and my pessimism will come out. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm not very educated. I don't deserve to be here. I don't have any love in my life. And it's like, these are all the punches like I'm telling myself, you know what I mean? Like you had this trauma and that trauma happened to you, and you do not have parents who are around, and you're lonely. Like all of that is the pessimism, things that just tell me, girl, you are shit. You do not need to be here. You need to fuck off out of here. Like, why even here anyway? It's not great. It's always shit all the time anyway. So why are you fucking here? All of that is that Muhammad Ali, guys. You the setting in it, and Muhammad Ali, like version of me is like punching. That's a very interesting image, honestly. Punching like pop, 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 pop. So it really, and then that's when you first feel the shock of depression, like, I'm in it, and you don't understand why you're in it, so you're trying to figure it out, and you're getting all of these like things that you're doing to defeat yourself with my way of depression, like my very storytelling way of depression. And when you get into depression, that hurt is just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming because it's all the little hurts that you've picked up over time that you've not been able to even caress and cuddle and grieve and like sit with, because it's too painful to sit with. It's too hard to sit with. And so when you have these hurts in your life, it's really, really hard to sometimes look at the world beautifully, and look at the world in a good way, because it's just overwhelming and it's just like too much. So yeah, it got heavy a little, but yeah. Welcome to the podcast. I'm not gonna veer off and keep going on, because then I might talk to be processing, which is like fun for me, because it gets me to think a lot. But I also wanted to do a check-in, and like I said about this podcast, I'm going to keep doing check-ins and let you know where I am, what my energy is like, because sometimes you may listen and I'm going to be saying and then other times you've been listening, I'll be calculating, and it just speaks to who I am as a person and my personality. I think there's this version of me, I think my authentic self, who's very joyous and very bubbly, and having picked up these personalities from very amazing women around me, like I'm able to wear it well, because I like that version of myself. But I think there's also this very version of myself who's like very hurt, and and they've stayed in the hurt for very long, and they've not known what to do to be able to basically heal that hurt and move on, and they're just stuck there. And I've been, in the past decade or so, I've been trying to be able to hug that and caress that hurt a little bit more, so I can maybe try and really start living this life, like really authentically living this life and being myself fully as a very personality disordered person. And show the other side of me that I must say a lot of people, even including some family, do not know about. But hey ho, let's go, because this is who I am and I want to authentically be myself. And how not best than to do it on a podcast loudly. So yeah, but in terms of check-in, so I've been low because depression sometimes comes and goes, so you do what you want to do with it. But if it's calm, of course. I had an event in my life that caused me a couple of triggers. So with those triggers, I then slipped into depression, and I started to isolate and feel low, and punching down on myself and stuff like that. But in that depression, I've also been able to find some joy and happiness in life, in terms of the relationship I have with people. Yeah, having a relationship with people and letting those relationships, because for me, one of my core needs is to have good relationships around me, like really healthy, good relationship around me. Letting those things that I built for myself over the 10 years of work really nourish me, so that I'm not in this place for too long. I've had different multitudes of depression where it's like been really, really tough, like where honestly I don't know if I'm gonna come out of this. Some which has run spans of years, where I had only like maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of month intervals, and it's like consistently being depressed all the time, and having to show up in life as well and try to act like things are good, things are fine. I'm fighting like everybody else, because I'm seeing friends and people around me really happy, doing things, enjoying life, and I'm not, because I'm struggling with myself and I don't know what to do. So I'm letting those positive relationships that are around me, that I've worked so hard to find and build and maintain, nourish me, so I can come out of whatever thing that's dragging me down, and try to sit with what is basically causing me to be depressed. Try to find understanding of it, give it grace, pour some love, find some love within me, and pour some love into that trigger, and then also start taking steps, legitimate tests to work on fixing whatever the issue is, or basically getting the issue to a place where it feels safe and it feels embraced, without having to be in it for so long. So the past couple of years I've had really good depressive periods where, like, they'll come for a month or two, and I've got 6 months of, like, no depression, and I'm doing really well, and I have maybe another couple of months or a month, it's ebbing and flowing. But then a year and a half ago, I got hit with one of the worst depressions I've ever had in my life. And that was very difficult, because it came in conjunction with grief. And for anybody who's gone through grief, you understand what I'm talking about, and particularly when you're also living with a mental disorder as well. Those two do not really really marry well, and do not really do well. So when I do get in depression, and what really helped me out of that moment was actually the relationships I had. They were the core foundation to me having hope and me wanting to fight to be here. And so in me talking about my check-in, of course, and dealing with depression, I'm coming out of it now, and I'm doing much, much better now. But, I'm recognizing that, like, there are certain things that is needed when you are in depression to get you to be able to ride it and come out of it. And that one of the main things, even though relationships are very important, is hope. Like, is being hopeful. There's nothing that is a killer about life than living a life of hopelessness and just being hopeless. That nothing is going to change, nothing is going to happen. Your life is going to be the way it's going to be, and there is no getting out of it. Like, there's just no getting out of it. This is the routine, this is the travel. And that was like that for me for years when I've been in my depression, where, because that lack of hope meant that I couldn't dream. I couldn't be excited about things. I couldn't look forward to things, and it just is very limiting. It's very, very limiting. So that means that, like, this other side of life that's very beautiful that I see people experience, but for some reason I'm not able to experience. And why am I not allowing myself to experience that? What's causing me to not allow myself to experience that? And it's a way that, like, you have to kind of sit with that uncomfortable truth and question about yourself to be like, okay, I need to start figuring out, what is doing that to me, and find hope in being able to figure it out and kind of walk out of it. And so I wanted to really talk about, on this episode, about hope and the importance of hope in this mental health journey that you're about to go on, and also with depression. Now, on to the difficult part. The thing about depression and hope here is that they are core enemies of each other. Core enemies, I tell you, literally. They are the family members who be fighting hard, like, you fucking, they do not work with each other at all. And one dims the other. Depression either dims hope, or hope, hopefully, if it grows up, also maybe help dim the depression and can get you out of the depression. I don't know if I'm making sense. And being able to sometimes put things in place to help you dim that depression light is so important. Or finding things to put in place to be able to dim that depression light is very important. And when you're stuck in a cycle of very intense mental health struggle for a very long time, and the routine is, I'm depressed, I'm sad, and the routine is life keeps hurting you, so you keep adding the hurt on top of your heart, and you keep carrying more and more hurt as you go along. So then you're not even, the hope is just like, it is gone. Like, it's not even here, because when you wake up, it's not just depression, but it's just the fire, the hell that is life. Life feels like hell. And because of that as well, you may have a lot of beautiful things around you, but you just can't see it. You cannot recognize it. You cannot get in touch with it. It gets hard. It's even hard to be in touch with it because there is that anxiety. Let me tell you, the virgin anxiety. You know what? They go depression and anxiety. That they're the besties of all time. They love each other. They work well together. They're like, guys, when they tag along well. They know that, you know what we're about to do, and we're gonna have fun with it. Have fun with it. So, you know, with anxiety being the big supporter of depression. They work in conjunction with each other to even dim the hope. So when you are like, oh, you know what, maybe if I let this down and I give this a chance, and the anxiety be like, we know, have we not seen it? We've seen it regularly, girl, regularly. Every time you're like, oh, it's gonna, and then you get hurt again. Every time you're gonna, ooh, and then it's, sis. And so you're being told all of these things by your anxiety about how it's never ever gone perfectly. It's not even perfectly, but it's just never gone your way. It's just never ever gone your way. And you're so lost and you don't know yourself. Like, you're like, okay, I don't think it's gonna work. So why am I even gonna bother opening my heart or putting myself in these positions, even if it's uncomfortable for me to make these changes and live life and be happy? Like, I'm not going to bother because we know the mantra, we know the game, we know how it's been like, we know what life is like, you know. So in that way, hopelessness really becomes a real thing where you just like, you've lost all form of hope to just want to be here, because what's the point of, like, what's really the point of life? And in some case, most of the time it's like out of your hands and you can't do anything about it. And that's your reality. But at the same time too, for me personally, when I've been in situation like that, I have asked myself the question that, like, is this what I want my life to be? Because as it is that way, I'm like, do I want to be living like this all the time? Like, you have to sometimes ask yourself some very difficult questions, because at the end of the day, even though you're struggling with the illness and everything like that, you still have a conscience, you know, and no matter how sometimes you may lose that conscience or not, it will come back. And you need to use that conscience to ask yourself certain different questions, sort of just being in the world with me. Sometimes come into your reality and really into yourself and be like, okay, is this the life I want to live? Is this a life I want to be in? Is this the way I want to experience this life? And when you ask yourself that question and you begin to understand that, okay, there are some moments in my life where I do have power and I do have autonomy, and I allow these things to happen to me, these hurts, these painful things to happen to me. I allow them to happen to me because I sometimes think I deserve it, or sometimes I just don't know any better, or I don't know any different. I allow myself to take it. And if I want to take accountability, am I being good to myself? Because I'm hurting and everybody around me is hurting me. Life is hurting me. Things are not going my way. Things are not doing well for me. So everything in my life is like not the best. It's pessimistic. It's very negative. It's very painful. And because everything in my life is doing that to me, I'm also doing that to myself. And I have to ask myself, like, am I also treating myself right in this? Am I taking care of myself? Am I lifting myself up? And if I'm not, I'm asking myself the question then, where did this insecurity come of where I felt like I'm worthless and I don't want to be here? And how sometimes I think about I'm good enough, but then there's a quick voice that tells me, girl, you are not good enough. Very, very quickly. And how do I dim that voice down? So you start to really ask yourself some difficult questions. And if you're able to get to those difficult questions, I truly believe that that's when hope can really enter your life and can really come along, because then you start to seek answers and to answer your questions, your difficult questions about yourself, because you realize that you don't really truly know who you are and yourself and your person. In that case, because you don't truly know who you are and your person, you start to not have a voice, not have a voice to speak up for yourself, and maybe say that, like, speak up and just be like, enough is enough. Like, enough is enough. I don't want to be in depression anymore. I don't want this to be my story. I don't want to be here. And that's been the case for me anyway. Probably not the case for most people, but it's been the case for me where I'm like, enough is enough. And that's the reason why I'm trying to reform my pessimism. That's why I'm on this journey. Because I deserve it all. I truly, truly deserve it all. Why don't I deserve it all when life is beautiful for so many people? I need to learn to make life beautiful for myself. I need to learn to change that. And for me, I started, and some of the steps that I took as examples anyway, whilst I'm talking, is that when I was 17, for instance, I had a massive transition in my life where I then got brought into like a very long-term depressive episode. And I remember doing high school quite lonely, like very lonely. I've already come from a very lonely environment. So I come into the UK, I don't know, I was quite hopeful, of course, and then that hope got dimmed. And I think that a lot of people don't talk about how immigrating can be very traumatizing in itself. It's an adjustment. It's a real adjustment. It's a proper adjustment. And I think when people talk about immigration like very willy-nilly, they don't really it can be exciting for some, but for a teenager or for a kid or for somebody who is not maybe ready for that change, you're just going along because these decisions are being made for them. It can be very, very hard. It can be very tough on the mind. And so when I moved to the UK, adjusting to the culture, the understanding the language, it's English, but it's not the same English. We speak old colonial posh English in Ghana with big words. I have this cute story of when I moved here, before I go back to my immigration experience. I went to school. I was in this high school, and I was in a high school from up north. And this boy approached me, because I think sometimes there's this mindset where people think that, like, because you grew up in Africa as a continent, not even like one specific African country, which for mine is in West Africa, Ghana specifically. The fact that you come from there, you live with the wild animals. I don't know what kind of portrayal has been given to these kids in terms of, like, the world, that they're so limited in their view, which I felt bad for. They were working class black and white boys, so probably their world is quite small and limited, because you're going through some of the harshest social experiences that you can growing up in a poor household. And sometimes there is a level of not much education, or encouraging of much education in that environment. So how would he know? I don't know. And the internet wasn't internet like that, so at that time, so I gave him a pass. So he was like, did you grow up where lions and tigers and monkeys? And I looked at him and I'm like, no. I grew up in a house. And then they were like asking me more and more questions about growing up in Africa. I think mostly for them it was out of curiosity and being fascinated, because like, oh, this could have just come from Africa and they're black. It is up north, Yorkshire, there's not a lot of black kids around them. So it's like a little bit of curiosity. So I turned to him and I'm like, would you stop being inquisitive, please? And they were like to me, you what? And that story sticks in my mind because it's such a funny thing of how very different I was to the kids in my high school, and how, oh my God, like the kind of culture and teenage life in Ghana is so different to the kind of culture and teenage life in the UK in terms of like, likes and interests and what is popular and stuff like that. When you're a teenager, that's very important. So I made some really crazy decisions, but that's one of the stories. So yeah, immigrating here was quite hard. It was really, really hard. And so that really impacted me in a way that, really affected me, even being able to be social, because I was so anxious about being able to be friends with the kids, and would they get me? Would they understand me? The way I speak is a little bit different. And then also I realized that like the way that we do school in Ghana is so different to the way that they do school in the UK. You know, kids are disrespectful and they don't get punished, they don't get hit. And that's like a shock. I'm like, wow, so that happens? Like, you know, and the culture is so different. And you're like, ooh, like they do this, like they're allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to call my teacher madam. I have to call them by their, you know, miss this by their name. All these little things is like overwhelming, and you know, you don't even know if we have any. I can't find any kids I have shared interests with. That's why my first friend in the UK, she's so important to me. I tell her this all the time, but she's like, it's nothing. I'm like, Sue, it is something, girl. It is something for me because I really needed that friendship. I really did. So yeah, it's a really, really difficult transition, you know, moving as a teen from your home country where you're very comfortable and whatnot to a different country. That change of environment is like really hard. So during that period I was struggling, and because of that I was seeking into depression more and more. And of course I've had my own other traumas that make me sad, miserable and lonely already. So I'm falling into that loneliness. Like I'm just falling into it. But then we all know high school ends. So high school ended. And the funny thing is, a lot of the kids liked me, but I don't know why they did. And to this day, I still don't understand why. A lot of them liked me, but I never made an effort to build a relationship with some of them, because a lot of them were actually quite nice to me. Or some of them just didn't care, but like a lot of them were nice to me, but I couldn't find it within me. Like, couldn't find it within me to be able to build a relationship with them, because I had already told myself that like, I can't do it because I'm not good enough. I can't do it because they may not get me, and I can't do it because if I end up turning up like a fool, what am I going to do then? I will be like a fool, you know. So all of these things, they're always constantly plaguing in your mind. That pessimism is plaguing in your mind because it's telling you that like it's just not going to work, so there's just no point in trying. So yeah, like I said, you know, I finished high school, it ended, then I was going to go into college for 2 years. And with college, I recognized, okay, Lydia, I told myself at that point I was like 17, because I got delayed a year because, you know, my family wanted me to catch up on the curriculum. These are all the other things that add to your insecurity. So I actually started in year 11, and I was in year 11 for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then I got brought down to year 10. So imagine, already I'm in the high school, I'm feeling so out of place, and then I then got demoted 1 year, and it makes me feel like I'm dumb and I'm stupid and I'm not intelligent enough, and I'm having to now build new relationships. I've worked hard on building relationship already with some of the girls that I've met in high school, and then now having to start again and build new relationships, and you know, all the social anxiety and all the anxiety around that, it can really be overwhelming. But like I said, you know, it was college, and I had to got myself a part-time job. Oh, your girl was earning money. I was earning money. I mean, I had to sort myself out. You know, your hair needs to get done, and you need to buy cute clothes. So, you know, getting part-time job is always like great if you're a teenager. I always tell you to do it. So yeah, you know, I was getting a part-time job, and you know, because of the part-time job, that has boosted my confidence a little, and it's giving me a little bit of hope to be able to achieve some independence and stuff like that. So there was a lot of things happening around my life that was really getting me out of my funk. And that's sometimes when we see ourselves come out of depression, it's like, so some little things start to pick up in your life and you see yourself come out of depression, because you're like, oh, you know. And sometimes when you get that, maybe ride the wave with it and see how much you can be able to implement around you to really get you out, so that the next time you just don't have one thing that gets you out, but maybe it's like 5 different things that get you out. It could be friendship, you know, it could be a social group that you join, it could be, you know, a religion, a church, like, you know, a mosque, like, you know, a social group, you know, an online conversation, something. It could be just anything, a reading club, like something that interests you, that you've put yourself in place with. It could be a family member, a loved one, a pet that you feel like, I'm responsible for you and you give me hope and I need to be here. A pet on one hand, but not a baby, please. Not a baby. Let's not do that, because that's a whole human being, and We don't want to mess about with them. But if you do have the baby and the baby come along because, you couldn't do anything about it, not because you intentionally want to do it, but you want the baby to be here and you have them already, hopefully they can also give you hope as well. But when I said not the baby, don't have a kid because you think that your kid is going to come and solve your life problems for you. That is not very good for the child coming, because it's putting a lot of pressure on their backs. So I wanted to do that caveat as well. Working in my wardrobe, but there's always a caveat. So having that part-time job was really helping boost my confidence. And so I started to ride the wave with it, and I was really excited about college because I'm like, okay, and also the part-time jobs, I was working with a lot of new, different people, some of them working class, and they're quite fascinating and interesting. And they're also much mature than me. So I realized I dealt well with mature people, the people who were like maybe 5-6 years older than me, than I did with people my age mate. And that's also because my maturity level was very different in Ghana to the maturity level for kids here in the UK who live in a completely different world, in different social structures and place and stuff like that. So it became apparent to me that I did well with some of the older people. So that relationship, that they weren't close friendship, those relationships of being able to go into McDonald's, which was my first job, Mackey's, come on, sitting down in the common room with them, having a conversation, chit-chatting, just doing things was quite really helpful to my self-esteem, my confidence. So I was really excited to go into college and build relationships and stuff like that. And that was the key hope in that moment during that depressive period for me. And in being able to do that, I saved money. Of course, I put effort into looking good. I decided to work on myself. My out was internally. Internal work started years later. But doing the outer work, to make sure that I felt good about myself and stuff like that. I was able to go to college, and as I'm socializing and trying to make friends, at this time I'm working around with everybody. Because I'm using this opportunity of being in hopefulness to not go back into my shell and my loneliness and my sadness that I'm not making an effort. So I'm really making an effort to put into it. And if you have that, and if when you get to that place and you have the energy and that drive, really push yourself as hard as you can to be able to get as much as you need. So in doing that, that's what led me to meet my best friend of 13, 14 years now. Yeah, my best friend of 13, 14 years now. So it's I remember meeting her. I tell the story about, and I'm going to tell it here as well. I tell the story to her all the time, but she's like, oh, I didn't think it was that way. I'm like, girl, it was that way for me because it was important for us, our people out here who are socially anxious and are really lonely, and we don't know how to put ourselves out and, maybe build relationships and maybe have more people around you or with you. Maybe this could be something that you could try. That's what I tried anyway, and it worked for me. So I really pushed myself out there to make relationships. And McDonald's and talking to people was really helpful to start with. And when I started college, I was hanging around with a lot of people. For some reason, my memory is not very clear during that time. I think because I was doing it in such high anxiety that I can't even remember all the things that I was doing to try and build this relationship. I can't even remember it fully because it was overwhelming. But I knew for sure that I was putting myself and I was talking to people more. I started to sing, even though I don't have the best singing voice. Let me try. Life is raggedy. Nah, it doesn't sound good. But I was singing, participating people, following people around, trying to just absorb, learn. Because I wasn't social. I didn't know how to be social in the UK. I didn't know what the kids were into. I didn't know what the vibe was and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me learn. Let me start learning. So I will go and I'll listen to what the kids are listening to, and I'll try and put myself into it and get into the music, the culture, which is very important when you understand the culture of a people, to be able to participate in that culture and build friendship and relationship. Because I'm starting all over again. I started all over again at the age of 40, moving to the UK. So I'm starting all over again. So I need to make sure that I'm building the right foundation for myself, because even though social media was a thing then, it wasn't a thing like that where I'm talking to my friends back home a lot. And when I got here, I was so depressed that I isolated everyone, including my friends back home in Ghana. So I didn't even make an effort to build a relationship with them, because the first few years being here before I went to college was really tough for me emotionally. So I had been in depression consistently for a very, very long time. And so being in that moment and being able to talk to, and then you're meeting other, and the thing that I loved about going to the college that I went to was you're meeting a lot more black girls that look like you. Like when they talk about representation, yo, it matters so much, because seeing other girls like me who looked like me, it really helped as well for me to feel comfortable to approach them, because I felt like maybe they will understand compared to maybe a white girl. I mean, later on, I'm now friends with loads of white girls because I've been in the culture for a bit and I understand. But in that moment, there's just some solace and some comfort. Like, oh, they will get me more and they will understand me more. So, that was the mindset I was kind of going with, in my opinion. So, I met a lot of black girls from the college, and to this day, I'm still friends with a lot of them actually, which is quite crazy, and they're all fantastic, amazing girls, like, or women now, like, because we all get into marriage age, and we're all getting mortgages and stuff like that. So it's a very different time, but like, they're all like, I see them, they may have their own personal struggle, but I see them, I can see a lot of them are doing so well, and it just makes me proud to have met all of these people and associate with them and have conversations with them and stuff like that. And that's what I was about. But the person who actually, you take a step, right? But if you're taking a step and you're looking around as well, you'll be able to see that there's a few hands that are out for you to hold it. And you need to pay attention to those few hands that are out, not putting yourself to places where you want to be because you like the idea of it, or you like the way that you see yourself in now, because there's things that you have, needs and wants that you have that you want to, I want to be in this type of social environment. Actually, sort of looking at, particularly if you're struggling and you're not putting yourself out there, for instance, you're looking at people who got their hands out, who are genuinely seeking to know you and want to be friends with you. And particularly as well, you need to be very careful about who's got their hands out, because not everybody who's got their hands out are actually for you. Some of them are there to manipulate, some of them are there to hurt, some of them are there to basically take advantage. And sometimes you need to really have a discerning eye and care for yourself, to not put your hand out there for people who are not really here to like help you. Not even just help you, but just be in relation with you because genuinely there's something about you that they like and they want to be around, and not because of what you can give them. You need to be very careful of that. And one of the first people for me, other than my friend Sue in high school, who used to turn up and visit me all the time. Sorry, Sue, I know you don't like me talking about this, but the first person who put their hand out for me that seemed so genuine was my bestie. And I remember when we started to get closer, we were just talking, chit-chatting, just having generic conversation. And then, she brought me into this big girl group of hers that she came from high school with, who were all also black girls, like, it was like overwhelming, and just getting to be around them. I was trying to learn all of their names, and I'm really bad with names. I remember there's this story of me and this girl where she asked me about something and said, "Oh, don't you know?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've forgotten your name." Because it's so bad, because there's so many of them. I was trying to learn so fast, and the funny things, they were all a year ahead of me as well, which was like very interesting, because the girls in my year, for some reason I couldn't find some of the girls in my year who were black, but I got to meet them and it was fun. I don't even remember how I got to meet my best friend, honestly. I really don't remember how we met or how we got to be interacting with each other. I do remember our first date yesterday with each other, where she invited me to come see Twilight. And I remember, like, this was in September or October of 2011, and I remember a few months before that, like in February of that same year, I had gone to the cinema alone for my birthday. And I was like, it's better than just staying at home, and I just couldn't see anything changing, because I was just alone and doing everything alone, because I just couldn't have any friends or friends who understand me who were my age. So that loneliness was really like impacted me. So when my best friend was like, "Oh, do you want to go to cinema? Twilight is out." I think it was the second Twilight. I was like, oh my God. I was like so excited. So I remember I went home and I dressed and made an effort to look good to meet her. And then we met at the McDonald's that I actually worked, because it's quite close to the cinema. And we were literally, I was walking in front of, she was walking in front of me. And I said, "No, like, you look good." It's like, "Oh my God, you look beautiful. I like your earrings and I like your head. I had a hat on. I like your hair." And whew, guys, when you're in a very low place, like, these compliments and these positive things I said to you, it can light you up in a way. It can just bring you up in a way, because your self-esteem is so low. And for somebody to say that to you, I don't know why, like, when she said it to me, I received it, because a lot of the time when some of these things are said to me, I'm so insecure about myself that I don't even believe them. For some reason, when she said it to me, I just believed it, and it felt nice to be around her. Like, she made me feel really safe to be around her. So we went to the cinema, and that's how our friendship started. And in me being friends with her, we were able to start building connection with each other and having conversations, and our conversation getting deeper and deeper, which then is growing our friendship and making it much more good in terms of like how solid and strong it is, because we are so connected with each other as friends, and in terms of the love that we have for each other. And I've gone ahead to also have more relationships similar to what I have with my best friend, and they're so beautiful to have. And it's all because I coming out of that depression and having that hope in that stint, I was able to ride that. So for me, about this thing regarding hope, what I want to kind of say is that really recognize the hopefulness that come into your life when you're struggling with this illness of depression, or life being so tough, or things being so hard. I'm really hoping that you're able to ride on those little hopeful moments that come in your life, and try and use that hopeful moment to make a change, find something new that can add to your life, and maybe make it much more beautiful and much more nourishing, to just kind of get you out of the things that you need to get out, so that hopefully we can all live a good and beautiful life. And that's been some ways I've been working on reforming my pessimism, and really honing in on who I am as a person, and learning to love myself, even in all my flaws, and all my, all the things that I think are not so great about me, that a lot of people tell me that are beautiful about me, So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this episode on hope, and about hope, and I was able to reach you. If you have questions, I finally set up the email for this podcast, so I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Because as I'm doing this podcast, I love human contact and relation. It doesn't have to be personable; it can be virtual. But I would love to, hear from you. Write me in anything that you think can give me more hope to be able to fight this journey of reforming my pessimism and coming out of my mental illness, trying to heal my mental illness. I will love any hopeful words that you want to share with me whilst I'm doing that. I will also love if you want to also share with me, if you like to share with me, where you are as well. Are you leaning towards life more on an optimistic level? Are you leaning towards life more on a pessimistic level? Are you somewhere in between? And is it where are you at? And what are you struggling with? I would love to hear about that, because it gives me also some comfort in knowing that it's not just me and there's a few of us out there, even if it's in anonymity or whatnot. And if you do want me to share some of your story about how you're struggling, and where you are at, you can write me a short message or essay, and I can read it on here. And if you have any advice to share as well, I'll be grateful, because I want to learn. I think that, like I said, the best teacher of life is other people and healthy people around you. So if you want to share, and if you want me to read it out and share it as well, please give me permission to do so. But I've set up the email, and I've also set up the social media. So I'll start promoting the social media as I keep recording. But I'm going to share the email with you now. And send us an email. Send me an email, and I will love to read it. The email for the podcast is reformingpessimist@gmail.com. It's reformingpessimist@gmail.com. I will also put it in the episode notes when I do every episode, so that you can access it easily and copy it from there. And I've also set up the social media for TikTok and Instagram. I'll share what the names or the usernames of the social media is at some point, and you can go follow. And I'll put snippets on there that you can comment and share as well. I really want to interact with people regarding this, because it's a very interesting personable journey for me, doing this podcast and putting myself out there. It's a massive fear of mine, but it's also an exciting fear that I'm really trying to pursue, because I'm what I know will even make me reforming my pessimism more, is to be able to be authentically myself in this world without having to be in any shadow or be any different. I want to be as miserable as I am happy to the world, and for people to be be able to accept that about myself, if not everyone else. So hopefully I was able to share some stuff with you that gives you hope, that keeps you going, and that uplifts you. I am praying and hoping for you to be able to find some beautiful things in your life in the next coming periods, and that that you're going to bounce out of your depression. You're going to be able to reduce your level of anxiety about things because you start to accept them, and you're able to make little small steps to being able to live a fulfilled life, or little small steps that are actually making your life even more fulfilled than it could have ever been, because it's never been like that for you. That you start to see more beauty and more joy and more happiness around you than sadness and misery and and whatnot. So yeah, I really hope that I'm able to add to the little bits of your journey, the little bit of your journey. And I'm thankful to you all so much for listening, and hope you have an amazing week, or couple of weeks, or year. I don't know. But anyway, have fun, y'all. Have fun, all. Let's have fun. Right. Bye, everyone.
Raggedy. 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 So raggedy.